You know, sometimes you have to do what you can do when you can do it. Like this firebush. I want to save cuttings from it. We aren't in the right time of the year, but since the homeowner is going to do away with it, I have to do it now. Come join me as I try to do some cuttings in the middle of December on a tropical bush. Hey, it's Elise with Concerning Gardens and More, and I'm glad you stopped by. I'm on the cusp of the U.S. planting zone 10A 9B. This is a tropical subtropical plant. Firebush, firecracker bush, scarlet bush, redhead bush, many, many names. Scarlet bush, Hamelia patens, native to Southern America down into Central and South America. So this is a native to our state. Definitely want to save it. Many varieties. All right, so the best way to propagate this particular plant is from seeds or from cuttings. Cuttings are usually done in spring when the plant is in active growth mode. But here in zone 10A 9B, we're still having some 80-degree days, although we have had some nights drop down into the high 30s. So you propagate from seeds or from cuttings. Now here are some seeds forming now. They will eventually turn black, and that's when you harvest the seeds. Get over here and show you a bloom. Now, many varieties of this plant, and there are other plants with the same common name. So sometimes you have to do a little research to make sure you get what you want. Beautiful soft foliage, really pretty. Many, many uses. It's used for medicinal purposes. It's used for edible purposes. The wildlife loves it. Hummingbirds, bees, bumblebees, moths, butterflies, a whole list of animals. Small animals like to eat the right berries. Humans can eat the right berries, but please do your research on that. So what has happened is this bush came up in the middle of some of the hedge plants, and we can't get it separated. So we came in yesterday and started taking cuttings. I'm going to come back and probably do a few more cuttings. I think I have a day or two before they come in and remove everything. So keep your fingers crossed for me. But beautiful plants. Now I'm also going to put up some photos of a different version of the firebush that I have on my property, and you can see the difference. I'll see you back at the cutting area. I'm in the back now, and I'm going to start doing some cuttings. As I said, you know, sometimes you just have to do what you can do when you can do it. There's some noise in the background. I'm sorry. There's going to be wind gusts because we've got a supposedly 98% of a nasty storm moving in about 2 hours. Normally you would propagate the firecracker or the firebush via seeds, which we had no ripe seeds, but I did show you in the first part of the video what the green seeds look like. And we have people getting roofs put on from the hurricane. Little noisy. All right. What you normally would do with your cuttings is in the springtime when your plant is putting out growth hormones. And on this particular shrub or small tree, you would take semi-hardwood or hardwood cuttings. Now, lots of plants you take hardwood cuttings in the fall. So, I'm just going to pretend it's kind of like fall. And I'm just going to start going through and cleaning them up. I like to cut at an angle right below a node. A node is where the leaves come out. And some plants it's really easy to tell, and some plants it's not. But right at that little circle. Now, if you're dealing with a really short piece of material, you'll do whatever you can do. So I cut an angle right there. Come up, and this one's not going to have any leaves on it. Normally you want to try to keep a few leaves. That helps with photosynthesis. All right, I'm going to cut it there. When you lay your cuttings down, make sure you lay them all in the same direction. Sometimes it's hard to tell the top from the bottom if you don't have foliage on it. And I'm going to come up here and cut that. Okay, now we're in an area that has a little foliage. Now I would consider this semi-softwood. Hopefully it will take. So I want to clean off all this bottom foliage. You never want foliage, berries, seeds, fruit, anything below your soil line. And I'm going to cut right there. So leaving a little foliage. Some folks say not to bother cutting the leaves will be fine. Just maybe leave one leaf on. So it's up to you, experiment. So there is me a nice size cutting, 5 or 6 inches long, with some foliage left on it. So that's all I'm going to do is go through these stacks of branches that we cut off late last night. Now, if you cut material off and you don't have time to go ahead and process it, put it in a bucket of water, which is what I did. So this one, and just be brave. I'm going to cut that off with the 3 tips and use that. I'm going to use as much material as I possibly can to try to increase my chances of getting some good propagation. Now these are really small. I'm going to go ahead and use some of them anyway. If they don't make it, at least I tried. And I'm also going to try doing some water rooting. So let me move this out of the way. So I just have some water that has been sitting for a little while. And again, I'm just cleaning it up a little bit. When you water root basically anything, you do not want any leaves or any material under the water line because they rot and that causes problems. You don't want this in direct sunlight. Put it in indirect bright light where it's warm. Change your water every day or 2. If you want to put some nutrition in here, you can. If you want to put some rooting hormone in here, you can. Definitely up to you. So I'm going to fill this little container full of some of the small, soft branches. Some of those branches I am going to go ahead and put in soil. Like I said, I'm going to try to propagate as much of this material as I possibly can. All right, I don't have anything to use for rooting hormone. So I'm going just to take these. This is a trade gallon pot. Everything is wet. I wet it very well till the water ran all the way through. You want to make sure anything you put these in, a tin can, anything, has good drainage holes. And what I'm going to do is come through, and it's also a good time you can clean anything up a little bit more if you want to. Think about it this way. The more material that you have above the soil line is taking energy away from the roots. So you want very little material above the soil line. But a little leaf does help with the photosynthesis. Okay, if your soil is wet, you'll be able to stick your little cuttings easier as far as I'm concerned, because the damp soil kind of just fills in and holds that for you. I'm going to fill this whole pot full. And when I get through, I'll go in, make sure it's all tight. I do not fertilize my new cuttings right away. I give them a little time to get established. And then I will come back. Oh, maybe some Epsom salts or whatever I happen to have on hand. And give them a little food. And you can see new growth here where we've been having some warm days. Now, if you're in really cold weather and you still have access to something like this, you can still do this. All right, now, after I fill this pot all the way full, I'm going to leave a space for a couple of taller stakes, and I'm going to bag it. And to bag it just means to put a bag over it. I like to use recycled bags. I don't like to waste. These gallon bags fit fine over these little trade gallons. The bags hold in humidity and moisture and keeps the plant warm. So if you are in a cooler area and you don't have a hothouse, I lost my hothouse in the hurricane, you can bag it. It's that easy. Another hint to help your cuttings if you're having to do them when it's not the optimal time. After you've bagged your cuttings, or unbagged, whatever you want, sit them in a container that doesn't have drainage holes in it. Put your water in the container, just a little bit, and you keep an eye on it. That way you do not have to take the bag off, lose your humidity, lose your warmth. The water will go up, the plant will take it up, the soil will wick it up. One good thing about watering from the bottom is the roots are exposed first, and then that can help the roots set faster. Okay. You really don't want your bag laying against your foliage if you have left foliage on. This will not go into bright direct sun. It will just cook. What I'm going to do is put these under a canopy where they'll get indirect light. If we get really cold weather, I'll move them inside so that they won't get too cold. But this bag and being under a canopy will keep them warm. So just adjust everything to suit what you need. Your growing conditions, the plant you've got, the materials you have on hand. Okay, I've already made a label to go in. And on this, I can just take my marker and write right on it. So I'm going to fill this water bottle full. I'm going to fill this container full, and probably another container. The more cuttings you do, the more you increase your chance of success. I'll be back later. I'm going to spend a little time now. I'll fill this whole water bottle full of plants, of cuttings. I'm going to finish filling this container full. I probably will do another container, maybe even 2. I don't want to lose this plant. This is a native plant. It was grown organically. It was a volunteer, which in my book, volunteers are usually stronger and sturdier. Okay, bag it or not, put it in water or not, take care of it with whatever means you have available. Don't be afraid to try though. All right, I've got to get busy. Okay, I've spent some time now finishing up the cuttings. I have 3 pots, trade gallon sized pots of cuttings, and I'll get a bag to go over them. I'm using an all-purpose soil that has lots of compost in it, so it should be very well draining. You want your cuttings to stay moist and warm, but not soggy. So I have 3, and I have a whole little container to water root. Again, use what you have when you have it. In an ideal world, you take your cuttings first thing in the morning, you put them in a bucket of water, you take them back, you prepare them, you use rooting hormone. You're doing it at an optimal time of the year. You can put it in your hothouse, on your porch, under a tree. But this isn't an ideal world. So if I wanted to save any of this great bush, which is wonderful for bees, butterflies, moths, everything, I had to act. Now, another thing I did as I was cleaning everything off, I saved all the soft foliage, the soft leaves. I can use that as chop and drop. You know, just put it down around the base of a tree or a plant. It will break down, release all those great nutrients that are still in those leaves, feed the soil, which in turn feeds your plant. Or I can take this, put it in a bucket with some water, and make some green tea fertilizer with it. Choices. Anyway, it's not being thrown away. It's not going to end up in a trash can going to a landfill. That's it. How easy. Did not take long at all. And in fact, I might try to slip back over, and if they have not started taking the bed out, maybe I can get a few more cuttings. I know it looks like overkill, but all these will not take, especially in the middle of winter. But I'm trying. Always try, folks. If someone offers you a cutting, no matter what time of the year it is, try. If it's something you have to pot up and keep in your home, try. All right. I hope you can do something like this in your landscape. Don't ever be afraid. Don't ever believe that you have to follow a precise set of rules. Till we talk again, have a fantastic day.